Welcome to Politically Basic. I'm your host, Kyle Campbell. As we always do, we're breaking down the basics of all political issues and current political events so that you get to decide. I am so amped for this episode of Newsom Nonsense because we've got the extra fabulous, always fashionable, fearless and unabashed Cali MAGA Barbie, aka April Silverman, on the show today. While first and foremost a wife and Jewish mom of 2 boys, she's also a political commentator and activist exploding on the scene with candid takes and captivating visuals. She's a bold conservative voice in liberal Los Angeles, blending politics and pop culture to engage a quickly growing audience. At the forefront of LA's red wave, she mobilized over 10,000 voters and earned coverage in the LA Times, as well as the nicknames the homeless vigilante of LA and the real mayor. April, you know your stuff when it comes to California politics and LA-specific issues, particularly homelessness. I am so excited about having you on the show and talking about all things California. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so you know your stuff when it comes to the issue of homelessness. How did that come about for you?
So it always was something that really bothered me because I feel like when we're paying the highest taxes in the nation, we should be, getting basic stuff taken care of. Like the sidewalk should be clean. We should have police on the street taking care of things. And no matter what, the police have been, defunded and their power has been stripped away from them. So when I saw that the council people wouldn't help me, the mayor's office wouldn't help me, and the police couldn't help me, I had to just take charge myself and do something about it.
What did you do?
I did a hostile take. What did I do? I did a hostile takeover in the middle of the night, and I got rid of a drug dealing homeless man who took over an entire corner in our residential neighborhood. And this is a good neighborhood where the mayor mansion is that we pay for. It's supposed to be a good neighborhood. It would never happen on her block or anywhere near it, but it happened on mine. And I had a construction company come and build a wall before 5 p.m. that day when the cleaning, the room service that they give the homeless was done. So he couldn't come back to the spot. There was nowhere to park anymore.
What do you mean they give the homeless room service?
So most of the homeless don't actually want to accept services. That's what they don't tell you. And that's why their policies are failing. So what do? When it gets so disgusting and nasty and they keep hearing complaints from neighbors, every few months, only if you keep harassing and requesting it, they will come and clean it up. So they give them 3 days notice between the hours of 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. They will come and clean it. So it's like housekeeping at a hotel for the homeless that we're paying for. And it doesn't force them to leave that spot anymore. So during that 6 a.m. window, I basically was there at like 5 a.m. I hired a bodyguard and I took over, and I didn't leave the spot until that wall was built. So I had construction come, and by 5 p.m. it was too late. The guy came back and he couldn't come there anymore. There was nowhere to go.
We've been hearing from the state and from Gavin Newsom's office that homelessness numbers are down. Now, I don't have the experience that you do, but I've served on a continuum of care board here in my county where homelessness was a really bad issue. And we were educated on all aspects of this issue, including participating in a PIT, a point in time count, where people volunteer to go out in the community and literally count how many homeless people are unsheltered and living on the street. It's not a perfect science. Do you believe the numbers coming out of the governor's office that the numbers of people living as homeless or unsheltered are accurate?
No, we already know that they fail every single audit that the independent companies come out and try to force them to do. The count is never accurate whatsoever. It's just not even possible to count them. And also, if you look at the numbers, I remember a few months ago, Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom celebrated and did a victory lap about like 3% reduction. Turns out that the number of people that died this year, was higher than the number that they're celebrating. So what does that tell you?
So numbers are going down because homeless people are dying.
And we're still paying billions of dollars for it, for them to die.
Let's talk about the money from it. And there's so many questions around this issue. And I want to get to all of them with you because you know your stuff. And I think it's very important that people understand what's really happening here. But the state has taken billions, allocated billions for homelessness. Where has the money gone? Where is it?
The money is going to all these builders that they hire that are all friends of, the politicians. And they're not building housing because the homeless don't accept the help and the housing.
Right.
They don't want it. If you don't force someone to get help, they're not going to accept it. So what do? They keep giving them free things and never force them. Okay, you can accept this. We're going to give you the cell phone, or we're going to give you this, but you have to get off this sidewalk. So not one encampment in 2025, now we're at 2026, that I dealt with have accepted the help and the housing. So we've capped out. We cannot keep, this is the definition of insanity at this point, because nobody wants the help. There are tons of units that are vacant, and we keep building more and keep paying builders more and more money to pretend to build housing that nobody's going to accept. We have enough housing. So why do we keep doing this? And why is no one holding them accountable? It's just beyond me.
Well, finally, the DOJ is starting to pay a little bit of attention over here in California with some of these builders and construction companies who, you're right, they are friends of Gavin Newsom's, and they are getting millions and hundreds of millions to buy and sell properties within each other's companies and each other's, accounts. So that's being exposed. Somebody buys a property for a few million one day, and the next day they sell it to their buddy for triple the price. So money's flowing that way, but units are being built. So are they not just turning over? Sometimes here in our community in California, the city or the state will build low income housing, and there are regulations around who can occupy that, but it turns over really fast. And so 1 year it's set, there's a term for it to be low income, and then somebody purchases it and then just starts renting it out, at a regular market cost. Is that happening, or are those buildings literally just sitting vacant?
Everything is sitting vacant. There's been so many audits that show that they're just sitting there. So I don't know why we keep building more and more things. They built them some crazy building in downtown LA with vegan food, gyms, art classes. It's like a 1.4 million each unit or something. They don't want it. They'd rather be on the street. If you're not forcing them to get sober and to do these things, why would they want? They don't want it. They don't care. When you're on the drugs that they're on today, you don't feel anything but euphoria. And they want to do it in a community together, and they like the situation. They're not forcing them to get help. If we really wanted to solve the problem, my idea would be to make a freedom town, with in the middle, somewhere in the middle of the desert, that's unpopulated, and bring a triage of doctors and rehab specialists and therapy and all these things. And that way they can't, if they're literally mentally ill or on drugs, they cannot harm anyone. Yeah. And that would just be the most cost efficient way to do it. And if you enforce things, you will see how many people will actually go get jobs again and get off our streets.
So this is an issue, and the way that this issue plays out, I really want my audience to understand. And so what we're talking about is that where the money has gone, that everyone keeps asking, where is this $26 billion? And we know that it's way more than that. What do you tell people is the amount that has been allocated for homelessness up to this point?
I think it's they say it's 26 billion, but I think it has to be way higher. Yeah. Because basically she said she was going to house a certain amount of people, Karen Bass, in her first year. We're nowhere even near that, because people, like I said before, have been dying more than they've actually housed, while still pouring the money that goes nowhere. So basically that first year they figured out, even the LA Times, who was very much pro Bass, that only 2 to 4% accepted the housing with her plan.
Yeah. And this is what I want people to understand, because it's confusing. On its surface, it seems like, great, just if they're unsheltered, get them shelter. And that's absolutely not how this works. Also, the joke has been that, we're wishing Gavin Newsom a happy 20th anniversary on his 10-year plan to solve homelessness in the state, and it's worse than ever. So this is what happens. The money goes to their buddies. They swap it around between themselves, line their own pockets, build buildings that they don't need to rent out because they've already made gajillions of dollars on this. They sit empty. I mean, it would be kind of funny if the homeless just occupied it. They would occupy an abandoned building because they're chronically homeless. These aren't single moms with a bunch of kids who, spent all their money getting away from an abusive ex-husband and now they have to live in their car and they really need a safe place to stay. These are chronically homeless people who are on fentanyl, who are on drugs, who like living in the tent cities that they have built for themselves. The cities and the state refuses to clean it up unless a representative from the CCP and then China is coming into San Francisco, then they magically all disappear. That seemed very quick and efficient and easy to remove all of that homeless population. But they let them remain. And your point is right, that it is not just putting a roof over someone's head that doesn't want it. That does not solve the problem. These people need help. They need mental health help. They need rehab. They need medical. They need dental. They need a process. And they don't want to follow that process. And so this is the issue of, when do you start to enforce some kind of a law, right? Where do our laws kick in that this is not safe? It's not safe for the people living in tent cities, and it's certainly not safe, as you've personally experienced, for people living in these communities that are getting infiltrated. One thing I definitely remember from my time on the COC here in my county was that the amount of crime that happens within these tent cities is horrific. We're talking bad crimes. It's not just the drugs. It's the assault. It's rape. They were starting fires. Neighborhoods were burning down. You name it, it was happening. It is such a massive public safety issue. So I think that your plan's right. But, there was a time when I calculated, if you had taken that $26 billion and divvied it up, evenly amongst the number of people who they were saying were homeless here in the state, we could have afforded to pay for a caseworker for years for every single homeless person to get them all of those services that are already available and get them on a path to recovery and to shelter and to, a life participating in a healthy way in society. And yet that does not seem to dawn on anyone in any kind of position of power. It's really infuriating when you think about it. What do you hear is the excuse for this, or is there not an excuse? Are people just saying,
no, there's
it's
an
fixed?
excuse?
What are they saying?
So there's a lot of mental gymnastics at play. The council won't talk to me anymore because I went public on Instagram, I'm assuming, and they see my posts. So they know that I'm enemy territory. So basically I have other people, I coach other people when there's an issue in the community, and I tell them exactly what to say. So it's really me behind the scenes for everything. But basically what they did was, when I was begging them for help on one thing, they're like, our hands are tied. It's the Supreme Court, or it's the governor's office, or they're always blaming somebody else. Now, my issue is this. There are times when they will do something and no one talks about it. There are these, because I'm so I have to be so vigilant and notice things. I make it my business. So there's these signs that nobody wants to talk about that are very controversial that came out in 2022. They're called homeless enforcement signs. You'll see them by the parking signs. They're very rare. Now, my opinion is that they're specifically in tourist areas like Hollywood and Highland or something, where it says that literally within 500 feet of the sign, you could technically call a cop and get rid of these people. So it's, again, rules for thee, but none for me. Why is it okay for me to kick out people on this street, but not kick out people on that street? It's the same thing. It goes back. It reminds me so much of COVID, when we would go to a restaurant and I have to wear my mask while I'm walking to the table, and then I take it off.
Well,
so
what happens if that's really interesting. Let's say you were a tourist and you wanted to go hike, Griffith Park, and then you saw one of these signs, right? You're going to do your touristy celeb watching thing. And you saw this sign and you called the police and you said, hey, there's a homeless encampment. I don't feel safe. What are they going to do? If they come and they remove those people, where do they take them? What's happening? Are they just literally picking them up from one place and dropping them at another?
They don't take them. No, they don't take them.
Yeah.
They just try to push them to leave if they come. And you're not on hold for 10 hours till something happens to you.
Okay.
There's no system in place. This is the definition of insanity. Karen Bass is already on almost, 4 years now. She hasn't done anything. The city is bankrupt. Nobody wants to talk about it. There is no money left. I picked up on a glitch that they made that was purposefully done, in my opinion, that they redid the 311 app. It was garbage before, but it worked. They made it super sophisticated. They probably paid someone a boatload of millions of dollars to do it. And now it pretends that you put something in the system after it takes you hours to put it in, and it gets resolved when nothing ever was done.
April, explain to everybody what you're talking about. What is the 311 system?
So they try to tell you you have a problem, so go to the 311 app or call on the phone. And it's somebody probably from another country on the phone who doesn't even speak proper English. And you submit your complaints there. Who knows when something's going to happen? For example, we have street lights in our neighborhood. They're all gone because copper thefts, because we don't prosecute crime.
Yeah.
So there's no money. After we pushed hard the council to tell us the truth, what was going on, why it's taking 8 months to get lights back, they finally admit that there's no money. So there's no money in this city. She bankrupted the city. That's why she's nowhere to be found. She's not campaigning. So everything she's doing is on purpose. So like they glitched this app so that you think, oh, something's going to get done. But meanwhile, you don't check your spam. It says within 2 minutes, your thing has been received. And then the next email is, it's been completed. Your service has been completed. Really? The graffiti was removed in 5 minutes. Got it. Okay.
What a mess. What a mess. So where do you think the money has gone primarily? I mean, we all saw the news reporting on, like this director of water resource services who was making $750,000 every year.
Yeah.
Or the, these systems, the 911 systems or these other emergency systems that cost hundreds of millions of dollars and were abandoned because they don't work. Is it all failed projects like this or overpayments? Where is the money going? Why is the city bankrupt?
Because we don't go to the root of the issues. So if we don't prosecute, let's say someone, I remember being scared as a kid of like getting caught littering, like I remember the signs ingrained in my brain, like $1,000 fine or up to 6 months in jail. So if you litter, there's garbage everywhere. You can litter. It's not a problem because you can also smoke crack and no one's going to do anything to you. So if you do graffiti, so what do? They hire a company who probably charges them 10 times more because there is no oversight, and I'm paying for it and you're paying for that, to go paint it, when 2 days later there's going to be graffiti again, and we're going to keep doing this again and again and again. Now they're probably paying their workers pennies, charging the city a ton of money. So that's happening with everything. So that's just a small, example, but it's happening with everything because we don't get to the root of the issue. And we did vote for a DA who's supposed to be tougher on crime. He wasn't my original choice because he kind of gave me like Rhino vibes. I think I'm still right about that, but I had no other option, obviously, besides for, George Gascon was the alternative. So I don't know. Is he doing better? Probably than George Gascon, yes. But I guess also his hands are tied because the mayor's office, from what I understand, is in charge of like telling the police to stand down in a riot. The ICE riots, she told them to stand down. So what are we supposed to do? If we have one, so you can't ever solve anything if we don't elect everything across the board in our way. We're not going to be able to solve anything like this. If the police chief is not on the one on our side and just the DA is like, it's not working like this,
Yeah, it's really a top all the way down issue. Because you really answered my next question for you. It was, let's talk about who's running for mayor there. But again, it's like, who's really pulling the strings? And we have such locked in leadership that, we have had people on this show who are state senators. You know, we've have representatives come on here, and they are those few conservative voices in the state, and there's this element to them of fear that they cannot even step out of line. They have to work with what they're given and what they're allowed to do. I mean, what do you think is the fix truly starting at the top with the gubernatorial race? And will that even be enough to filter and trickle down to have influence on some of these really entrenched positions like the mayor of LA or the fire chief and things like that?
I think we need a little bit of everything. I think we need a proper, a new governor. We need a new mayor. We need the fire chief to be in line with our values. Just go back to common sense policing. We just have to go back to common sense. It doesn't have to be Republican. I don't want to hear about social issues. I don't want to hear about that when I don't even have lights on, which, again, it's dark outside. So there's going to be more crime because there's no lights on. Even the lights that do work don't even work well. It's still really dark out there, So I also do think that I don't know legally what the options are, but I do think that if Trump doesn't figure out a way to federally get involved in states like this and overhaul some of these things, we're just never going to fix anything because we're going against the machine. Gavin Newsom wanted Prop 50 to go through. It did. There's just certain things. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist, but we're going against money and heavy influence. And it's just very hard to see light at the end of the tunnel and be able to make change when we're going against machines like this.
Yeah, if the goal is to overwhelm the people of California, whether that's through bringing other people into the state or just flooding us with, policies and regulations that are just so hard to fight against and putting us on the back foot. They're really doing a good job. I'll say that's one thing that Gavin Newsom is doing a great job on is overwhelming everyone. It does feel like a bit of a David and Goliath. He gets involved
in every little thing. He's getting involved in a tortilla thing right now.
The tortillas are absurd. And we should actually talk about that because that starts to get a little concerning when it's about the water supply. It's about what ingredients or chemicals are going into our food, what's going into our vaccines. So this has to do with folic acid. And of course, it affects the Hispanic population here, of which we have a growing population, and those who are in the country legally. And, we live with these people. We love them. We work with them. We don't want to see this. Maybe you can explain why that is that piece of legislation that they are now regulating how much folic acid goes into tortillas.
Because it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. The Hispanic community has this, they have the largest population of people with this gene mutation. And if you have that, you cannot have excess amounts of folic acid. It could be really, really damaging to them. And it's mind-blowing. Nobody voted for this. Who asked for this? It's also borderline racist. I'm sorry. It reminds me of Jill Biden calling them tacos. Yeah. That's all they're good for. I had people reach out to me to talk about it because they felt that that's why I posted about it yesterday. I wanted to do research on it first. But they said nobody's talking about this. No. And they assume that all Latinos are the same. They said Peruvians make their tortillas totally different, not with corn, with different ingredients. So they're all having to hand make their own tortillas now. They have nothing else to do. It's mind blowing.
It is shocking that this also to me is a great example of why we don't need a full-time legislation. Have this be a part-time job. You don't need to try to get your fingers into everything. It's also very fluoride in the water-esque. The problem here is that it's addressing the back end of an issue and not the front end of a healthy lifestyle issue. If you want people of Hispanic and Mexican descent to be healthier, you need to address some of the key eating and exercise and medical visit lifestyle issues. This is like cutting off someone's arm and handing them a Hello Kitty Band-Aid. And you're like, this'll fix it. Thank you, California supermajority. You fixed it. You didn't. And you're actually putting a lot of other people's health in danger and an entire industry, right? This industry that makes these products, they're screwed. So you've done a ton of damage, and now we all have to give side eye to tortillas in the grocery store. I can't make my own tortillas. I love tortillas. I love foods that incorporate tortillas. what am I going to do? So once again, they have taken something that wasn't an issue, they made it an issue, and they've ruined it, that we're going to have to backtrack. But I think that you're right. I think that we need to see new leadership threaded throughout the state in all positions of political leadership change. We've got some pretty interesting names throwing their hat in the race for LA mayor. You were one of the first ones to know about Tish Hyman. Spencer Pratt's running. Give us your take. You seem to kind of have your thumb on the pulse of this mayoral race. What do you think about all of these people running for that position?
So I was actually very worried, and I ranted about this a lot for months because I felt like Rick Caruso, he was wasting our time for the past few years. He really made it look like he's running for mayor again. Now, governor, I didn't want him to run for governor. I know some people did, but I was like, we have plenty of people that are jumping in that race from both sides of the aisle and independent. I don't need you for that. LA is your specialty. You seem to have your, properties down to a science. Like, I love the way the Grove is run. Have you been there?
Oh, I love the Grove. The Grove's amazing. I would go there as a kid before he built it all up. And so it's such a special historic place to LA. And he actually did it service. Here in my community, he's built a phenomenally gorgeous property. We're fans of his as a businessman. I think the question about him that we mostly received was, is he a Democrat or not? Is he going to run as a Democrat and then lead with more conservative aligning policies? And then there was some concern over how he handled privately protecting his own property during the Palisades fire, which it split a lot of people and again kind of defied logic. Of course, you're going to make sure that your, $400 million, $800 million properties are protected if you can't rely on the state to protect them. But unfortunately, the optics of that were challenging for some people. It seemed very elitist. Like you could see the line around the Grove where his personally employed firefighters protected those properties and then homes burned across the street and things like that. And so, he was a big question mark. And I think there might be a bit of relief just knowing that he's not going to pursue that.
I will say, though, he has so much knowledge and experience. Before he was even a businessman, I think he was somehow involved. Like he was worked with the police somehow. He has a lot of contacts. If you listen to the podcast like he did with Adam Carolla, Joe Rogan, the guy knows his stuff. Yeah. And take politics out of it for a second. He is the most qualified person for the job to run Los Angeles. I'm sorry. I don't like how he's been, talking about the ICE and all that. I don't want to hear about that. But I got to give credit where it's due. The guy knows how to run a city. I don't even need to see him do it just to know he would be the best man for the job. However, I need him to do the right thing now that he wasted all our time. He needs to back it. Let's say we're going to go with Spencer Pratt. I will know in June, but let's say we go with him. He's going to have to financially back him, and he's going to have to help him out. I think that Spencer Pratt, let's say he runs and, God willing, he wins the nomination and goes to a runoff. Hopefully we can kick off Karen Bass off that ticket. I think that we all need to do a unity, like a group, a board, an advisory board. And I already offered my help to Spencer. I reached out to him. I think that there's so much to be done. We need to be like the Avengers here. I'm good on the homeless issue. I'm good on the crime issue. I have police chiefs calling me to ask me what's going on in my neighborhood. There's so many people who know things that are going on in LAUSD, all these different things. We all need to pitch in, save the city together. Spencer put his name out there, put everything out there. Literally, he's getting all the scrutiny. So God willing, he gets elected. We have to work together and help him. That's the only way to save the city because we don't have anyone to help us. We have to do it ourselves.
Yeah, very well said. And I think that some of the communications I've been putting out are along those lines. You can't just hang out on the sidelines until the last second and jump in. People have got to pick a lane, pick a candidate, and throw your full weight of support behind that person. And I think building out as much advisory and building a real team on every issue is so critical. So I hope that he takes you up on that offer. Now, the mayoral race there in LA is not like the gubernatorial race where we have jungle primary. Am I right in that? You have one candidate from each major party, and it's a percentage based at the time of the primary.
Yeah, so I think what's going to happen is that's why it's a good thing that Tish Hyman jumped in the race. And I called, let's say, with the whole thing after October 7th, I saw the writing on the wall. When you had people like Cynthia Nixon and all these people coming in and criticizing Biden and Kamala for the first time, I don't care what the reasoning is. I saw that there's division happening, and Democrats were always united. So when they're starting to get super divisive on issues and they have nothing else to do and they start the protests and all these things because there's an issue that matters to them most, doesn't matter what it is. It's good for us, and it's an opportunity, if you take advantage of it, to seize it. And basically, the more people that jump in this race, the more we're going to chip away from Karen Bass's votes, and we will probably head to a runoff, and then we have more months to work together and be with, like go together and just pursue the highest polling candidate. And we have from June to November. So it gives us another lifeline, basically.
Yeah. No, that's a really smart strategy. The opposite is really needed in this gubernatorial race. We do have jungle primary, and it's a bit of a swirl right now. The polling, I just did a deep dive the other night into as many polls as I could find on this race, and it's just a mess. It's all very neck and neck, and Bianco will pull ahead and Hilton will pull ahead, and Katie Porter's still in some of these. I don't even know why. I predict she'll hang on to the very bitter end because why not? And, now these reports of Eric Swalwell not being eligible to run have come out because he's listing an attorney's office as his primary residence office here in the state of California. And you can't do that if you want to lead the entire state as governor. Probably a good idea for you to actually fully, completely live here.
Exactly.
I love that he thinks that he can just, skate by on these things. He might. I mean, they might not pursue that. Again, we have such an entrenchment of leadership here. They might not boot him off the ballot. What do you think? I'd love your take on what's going on in this race, who you like, and what you think should happen, and what you think is going to happen.
It's a good question. I'm not sure right now because I don't know how much I trust the polling. And I do see a lot of infighting between the two candidates, between Bianco and Hilton. It's like, oh, he's using fake polls. This one's using that. This one's leading. This one's leading in donors. And there's a camp of people, let's say, that don't like that Hilton is is British, and supposedly he dropped his citizenship for England.
So he's Hungarian born. I've had him on the show. I know Steve Hilton pretty well. He's Hungarian born. He did live in England for a while. I think the take on him is, he's out fundraised everybody. He's hustling. He cares about the state a lot. He'll never be eligible to run for president, which might be refreshing to people in the state right now as we're watching our current governor completely abandon the state as he, quote unquote, never would ever run for president. I think this comes down to the fact that for once we have two conservative leaning candidates for governor who people really like. I mean, if you think about, some of the things that we look at, like an Eric Swalwell and his really blemished record and scandal-ridden political career, or we look at a Katie Porter who is so unlikable and has real, I want to say, this woman, if she's not in therapy, you just need to get a team of therapists around you. She's got some rage issues. When you look at Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco, you don't have that much. There aren't that many skeletons in the closet, if any, and people really like both of them. I don't like to see us working really hard to find why we're going to pick one side or the other. I think those two men need to sit down, hash it out, one support the other, and let's put the full weight of our support behind someone. We don't have to have somebody drop out due to a scandal. Let's try that pathway for once. Let's have
Wouldn't that be nice?
A clean campaign. But it's interesting to see, we're just so used to this, right? We're so used to liking one and really disliking another. But I think they're both strong candidates in their own way, and we'll see what happens. But this is a really interesting one. And for once, since we've had Republican leadership at the top in California, there's a chance. There's a chance, and 2024 showed us that the numbers are swinging in that direction. So it's really exciting to see what's going to take shape. And I do hope that they disallow Eric Swalwell to be officially a candidate. I think he's got to follow the rules and follow the law. And I think it was concerning to a lot of people what he said he would do to ICE agents should he become governor, which was essentially take away their licenses, take away their driver's license and their ID, and restrict their, state given, constitutional given rights to have that piece of their citizenship. So I don't know. That's just my take. I don't usually give so much of a personal opinion, but California is my home, born and bred, and I love her so much. And this one matters a lot to me personally. So totally. We shall see. We shall see. Hey, have you been following that Kitson account?
Yeah, of course.
You're a fashion girl. You love fashion.
I love fashion.
What is up with that? Like, who's running that? I don't know who's in charge of that, but it's so funny to see this thing that was so popular in the early 2000s, such an LA staple, and now they've gotten really political all of a sudden. Do you have any insight into that?
Well, we can thank Kitson for a lot of things. Before, I could be wrong, but do you know the account Street People of Beverly Hills, Street People of LA?
What is that one?
So basically, they're an anonymous account, and California, crime and homelessness and all the issues would not be out there if not for these accounts.
Oh, wow.
They were the first of their kind. It's an anonymous guy. You send your tips in there, like videos of some crazy homeless person, taking off their clothes and doing something at a Ralph's Market. Any of these crazy viral videos.
Or a Thursday, just like a typical Thursday.
Just a regular day. So without those accounts, we wouldn't know anything. The world would not know what's going on in California. So before them, we had Kitson started in COVID, being political. And we're so lucky. And basically what would happen is people would try to shoplift and they took matters into their own hands and would shame them, prosecute, do their own basically vigilantism. If you go and steal from Kitson, you're a moron because you will literally never get a job again. They will hunt you down, post your photos everywhere, and your relatives. And they just exposed so many people when no one had the audacity to do it. They make the wall of shame window for Christmas every year where they expose every corrupt politician, Gavin Newsom, all the things. And can you imagine you're a liberal and you have to walk by on Robertson by the Ivy and see these things, in your face, like the hypocrisy on these massive posters on these windows. You can't miss it. So I just applaud them so much for taking a stand. And yes, it hurt their business in certain ways, but people have shopped online and supported. They've gotten a lot of conservatives to buy their Christmas gifts, their, holiday gifts from them. So I just applaud anyone that takes a stand, and we don't have to agree on everything, but it's pretty admirable when people put their money where their mouth is and don't just talk and vent and, rant about it behind the scenes.
Yeah, they're deep in the belly of the beast and they are going no holds barred. I appreciate that. Is that the new political methodology, do you think, this vigilantism that you've mentioned? You've been called a vigilante there for your work and taking matters into your own hands. Do you think that what's going on and kind of almost the lack of support from different parties, different agencies, and not being able to necessarily rely on the machine or the complex that we have been able to rely on in the past is driving this kind of new way of taking matters into our own hands? Are you seeing more of it?
Yeah. I see more of it. I think that you don't have a choice. Does it look normal that someone like me had to literally go after homeless and endanger my life technically because they had the council literally went on their Christmas vacation. They're always on vacation. They left us in such filth in the most expensive neighborhood. I mean, lots cost almost $3 million teardowns where I live. Okay, just so you understand. And we need to live in this filth that's worse than a third world country. It's mind blowing. So if we don't take matters into our own hands, it's not going to get taken care of. I have people in my community who literally tell me all the time, if you didn't do it, it would never, it would never get done. And because I've gotten it down to a science and I have all these guys helping me, backing me up in the community, let's say we're patrolling, like something happens, we deal with it right away and we're able to keep our area in shape. Now, you can go to Westwood. Westwood's a disaster because people aren't going to have the guts to do these kind of things. And you cannot rely on the fact that your police are going to help because their hands are tied. And also, they're so defunded. Do they really need to go and deal with crazy people who are undressed? I mean, the things that they have to deal with is insane. And the loopholes, like I had to be coached in how to get someone arrested for 5150. Do you think it was easy? With a person that was threatening someone's life, it wasn't easy. You'd think someone says, I'm going to kill you publicly, like that should be enough. No, it wasn't. Do you know how we got her arrested in the end? After hours with multiple officers and multiple of us, we had to literally tempt her, and this is all on video, tempt her, tease her, and instigate her to get herself onto the street, like where there's cars, not just on the sidewalk. The second she did that, that's how we got the 5150, because she's endangering herself and others by going into the street. Not because she said in front of officers, I'm going to kill you. That's not enough. So what's going to happen? Someone is going to actually get killed before the police can come.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's California for you. And you can look into other areas of law. You can look in family law, trying to get a kid out of an abusive situation. You have to have somebody standing there holding the knife with the blood on it to get anyone to do anything. It's really, really backwards. April, is this fixable?
It's only fixable if majority of people stop obsessing over, Trump, let's say, and the ideology that common sense and law and order equals Trump and the orange Cheeto man that's so evil and Hitler. And they start going, hey, we need common sense back. We need to rally behind a candidate. Or, let's say abortions. We're not going to be able to get abortions or gender affirming care if we're dead because some crazy person who should have been in prison came and hunted you down. So I heard today, I'm in a community chat with not my Jewish community, because my Jewish community will, let's say, vote for whoever I tell them to. They're all Republican. But this other one, and there's a woman who's been robbed 3 times. She refuses to get security cameras. Why? Because, I don't know, racism.
Wow.
Like, we can catch the kill. I mean, like, this is like masochism, stupidity, all mixed into one. So these people are mentally ill. You'd rather get robbed than identify a criminal as Black. It's like Matt Walsh's Am I Racist video. He couldn't say who the perpetrator was. It's unbelievable. So I think that the only way it's going to work is if everybody, like majority of people, just say, hey, enough with this virtue signaling nonsense. And we just need to go back to root issues. We pay taxes. We want safe streets, clean streets, potholes being taken care of, sidewalks that aren't cracked all over the place so we fall and crack our head open, God forbid, which happens every day. We just got to go back to basic stuff.
That's right. Back to the basics. I like to hear that. And it's true. And it's sad that we've gone so far off track that we just want to settle for neutral. We don't even need great. We'll just take not horrible in the meantime while we build back to that. Well, April, I've got you for a couple more minutes. This is Newsom nonsense. So I'd love to hear your favorite, or maybe I'm calling it now least favorite item of nonsense that has come from Gavin Newsom.
We don't have to look that far. I mean, what about the past 24 hours?
I know.
Oh my gosh. I have so much to say. First of all, what is he doing there with Alex Soros? Nonetheless, I don't understand. He's unhinged. He keeps regressing. He's all over the place, the guy. And he's talking about knee pads. Really? While he's taking pictures with Alex Soros, it's unbelievable. The fact that he goes to another country, Stephen A. Smith called him out last night. Like, you have the chutzpah to go to another country and air our dirty laundry. Like, we're supposed to be America. What happened to American pride? Like, stop. What is wrong with you? I was worried about Gavin Newsom. I will say, when he started off the podcast and he did with Charlie Kirk in the beginning, I was worried about Gavin because I felt like he's going to pretend he's moderate and say all the right things. Right now, he must have so many things and people in his ear telling him different things that I think he's just his worst enemy at this point. He doesn't know what to say, what to do, and he's not being like himself. So he's just confused. And so I think it's just going to be his downfall because he was humiliated yesterday, in my opinion. And I love to see it.
You make a really interesting point. Who is he? What does he stand for? What's he about? He might not know at this point, and it does seem that he might be having a little bit of a mental, emotional crisis. I have been focused more on his wife recently. She seemed to come out during the holidays and look like she was smack in the middle of an emotional breakdown. I was actually really concerned. I think she needed a wellness check. I don't know that she got it, but running for president is no joke. It is one of the most rigorous, exposed, brutal, hard on anyone's, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And so he might drag her through it, and we'll see. Well, April, I have loved this conversation so much. You are extremely sharp and well-versed on these issues. I think that LA and the surrounding communities are really lucky to have you fighting for what's right, fighting for the citizens, and really to help people who are on the streets, because what's happening right now is certainly not good for them. So I thank you for all the great work that you're doing. I will hope to see you down in that area one of these days soon. We don't live too far away from each other. And please let me know if you come up this way at all. And I hope to have you on the show again, and we'll get caught up on these issues as we go along.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to it anytime.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all so much for joining us on this episode of Politically Basic. We're committed to breaking down the basics so that you get to decide. Be sure to check us out at politicallybasic.com and follow us at Politically Basic so you don't miss an episode. We'll see you next time.